Good morning. How tipping is changing in America. Is it normal to tip where you live? If so, whom do you tip and how much? In America, it's common to tip waiters and waitresses at restaurants as well as people like taxi drivers, bartenders, food delivery people, porters, and hairdressers. Hairdressers, I didn't know that. And Americans say the need to tip is spreading to even more places. A recent survey by Pew Research Center found that 72% of Americans say tipping is expected in more places compared to 5 years ago. Pew surveyed nearly 12,000 U.S. adults in August 2023. It found that most Americans now struggle with tipping, with only one-third saying it's extremely or very easy to know whether or how much to tip for different services. More than 90% of Americans say they always or often tip their waiter at a restaurant, but that percentage quickly goes down in other industries. Fewer than 80% always or often tip their hairdresser or when they have food delivered. Only 70% tip at a bar, and adults 60%. No, what am I reading? Only 70% tip at a bar, and about 60% tip their taxi driver. About a quarter tip when buying a drink at a coffee shop, and 12% even tip when eating at a fast food restaurant. And how much do they tip? It varies by industry, but for an average restaurant meal, most Americans will tip their waiter 15% or less, although about a quarter will tip 20% or more. And older Americans are actually more likely to leave smaller tips. But do you have to tip? That's the question. Do we have to tip? It depends on whom you ask. Around 30% of Americans say tipping is an obligation, while about 20% think it's a personal choice. About half think it depends on the situation. So it's no surprise that 72% of Americans don't like it when businesses include an automatic service charge. That's right. And while many businesses now use tablets and their devices that automatically encourage customers to tip when they pay, 40% of Americans say they don't like these suggestions. That's true. Well, I was in this conversation with an American lady the other day. Yeah, she really were offended about asked for tipping if all the service were automated. That I can agree on that. What are your thoughts on Pew's findings? Like I said, is tipping common practice in your country? No. Who do you usually tip? I usually do. I do tip for the street dancers and street performers. Would you say that tipping is more of an obligation or a choice? It should be a choice. They should include it in the service fee for that. Automatic tipping suggestions common in your country? No. Have you ever had trouble with tipping in a foreign country? Yes, in America. What is the service generally like at restaurants in your town or city? When was the last time you had a bad experience with a service provider? Hard Rock Cafe and somewhere. No, that's gonna be a long story. Which of the places you regularly buy from has the best customer service? Many of the Japanese restaurants has best, very good customer service. Have you ever worked in a service industry? If so, what was the most challenging part of it? Tipping is actually one of the biggest hoax ever pulled on an entire culture and American public. Danny Mayer, what do you make of this statement? I probably shouldn't make any statement on this.